Ready, Bob?
Good man. Sorry about that.
Call the meeting to order. Want to make a motion to change and add.
I would like to make a motion that we add a public comment before new business this evening.
Great, we'll do that. I agree. I second it. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right. Public comment.
We're here because of Camp Hope.
But first, if we could just have you follow protocol like we do at a regular city council meeting.
Oh, Ward 2,
State your
Cindy
name.
Pratt.
Okay, thank you.
Sorry.
No, that's fine.
I should
You
know
did.
that.
Go ahead,
We, just a couple weeks ago, they had found rats. A rat entered her apartment, chewed through her dryer vent. It was in her laundry room. Apple Run's been there, what, 40 years? The last 2 years, we've seen rats. I have personally haven't, but the landlords have. And we think it's from Camp Hope. We can't feed the birds. We have to watch our animals. It's changing our lives, and it shouldn't do that.
And we've been there for a long time.
Yeah,
We've never had this problem before, never. I mean,
Never.
last couple of years, it's just been.
we're all from Apple
Yeah,
Run.
thank you.
I have approached Missy before on issues from the complex, and she said, call the cops, they won't do anything, is her words to me. I mean, if the marijuana smell, I know it's legal, but the bonfires, the swearing, it's ridiculous.
Loud music.
We have a new neighbor that moved in at the end, and she told me that she now does not feel safe sitting outside because a lot of the people go in the woods and they're smoking, and then she saw a guy peeing on a tree, and they were sitting down at a tree close to where we all live.
Those woods like right behind.
Yeah, between
the
Kroger
pizza place.
and our
Yeah.
apartments, yeah.
There's lots of trash in the woods, and I believe that's, the food trash is what's attracting the rats. I've never seen a rat in my life.
Is that,
I
do you
haven't
know
either.
what property, who owns that property?
I don't know. I asked city clerk, they told me I could probably go to Kim and ask her. Because I think there's still a tent right behind Kroger. I'm not
Oh,
sure if
there
it's
is.
occupied.
And it's got a giant mound of trash.
That's private property.
Probably what?
That's private property. The owners of the property have been contacted years ago. That guy's lived there now for close to 5 years.
Yes.
Okay.
Well, so
I don't know
we-
what squatter rights are, but
Care
he might
facility
actually
went
own
over there
it.
to clean up the trash. And that guy came out of his tent and he yelled at him to go off of his property. They were just trying to clean up some trash.
Yeah, we've been there several times for him yelling at people.
But the rats concerns, there's
Yeah.
children
Right.
at Apple Run. I just want it to go away.
I have also been, on that subject, I've also been approached by the folks at Coldwell Banker, by several of the folks there, and they say that the marijuana smell
Yeah.
is sometimes unbearable, and it gets into their building, depending on how the wind's blowing, and then, they have to work to try to, conduct business with marijuana smell and try to get it out of there before clients come.
Right.
And they've also had trespassers, people coming down that hill and just kind of lingering in their parking lot and then walking over to McDonald's, Kroger's, places like that. I did suggest, and I don't know how much validity it has, I did suggest that they put up no trespassing signs. That probably won't stop them, but at least that might give them some more legal recourse,
It does.
so they were going to look into that as well.
Did you want to?
Yeah, we just.
It's
It's
the cussing, it's the
scary.
smell,
The smell,
and
yes.
the rats is like
The
straw.
rats is the top.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's just,
Cause I can't sleep. Right now.
it's not acceptable.
Yeah.
Well, I agree. Not good, not being good.
No, not even a little bit.
Not to be snarky, but I do have a guy you can call for pest control. So, if something doesn't happen legally or whatever, I can give you a number, he's very good. So,
Probably have to give it to the management.
right, but I can give it to you and you can.
They're gonna put
We
out
have
some,
it right here.
Okay.
they're gonna put out some
Yeah,
poison.
they're gonna put out some poison. The
They're
only
gonna-
problem with that is now you gotta watch the kids, you gotta watch
Right.
your pets.
Exactly,
You know,
exactly.
so, Where is management, if I may?
They're out on Beck Road, the brick building.
Oh, the Hillsdale,
Management,
property
yeah.
management,
Yeah.
okay.
Mark and Miranda
Gotcha, okay.
Parker, yes.
Yep, okay.
I've lived there for 8 years and never experienced anything like this.
And I've been there 11.
Wow.
And I felt sympathy for her, but she's not willing to work with anybody. So,
And I have heard, to Cindy's point, the same line from several others who have spoken with Missy, and she has told them the same thing.
Yeah.
Call Chief
Call the
Hebner,
police.
they won't do a thing,
Yeah.
because I have an agreement with Chief Hebner.
he likes me.
That's what she's been telling people.
She has an agreement?
Yeah, and they won't do anything, so,
That's good to know.
well, this is what people are telling me, so that's their side of the story, you know, so. I can neither confirm nor deny she actually said that, I'm just passing along what constituents have said, so.
Well, that's all we can do.
And
I'm
rumor has
guessing you don't, but,
I don't have a clue what it is.
yeah, no, okay.
Rumor has it she wants to turn it into a transitional home.
Yeah,
The people
but,
she's got down there have been there for 2 years.
right, that's not transition.
No,
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 And she has the same issue at her house,
I've heard that.
Yeah.
you know,
I
so,
know.
because she lives behind me, and so, a number of my neighbors have approached me with the same concerns, that she has people living in her house, and she's well past the, I guess, visitor or whatever legalities before they have to consider it an apartment or something, instead of just, you know, being a nice guy and helping them out, because they've been there a couple of years as well. And,
Right.
they destroyed a mailbox. One of the neighbors kind of ran over it with their car. They just asked to have the mailbox replaced, and was no. So that's being discussed with a lawyer. They put the fence up. I asked her to put the building permit on the
As soon as they do, like, quit
fence.
talking.
Yeah.
I haven't seen it yet, but she tells me she does have the building permit for the fence, so, you know.
Yeah, of course, yeah. Are we good, ladies? Did you have any?
If they could just move somewhere else.
Well, and I had sympathy for you when you had them in your backyard at Stocks Park. I'd rather have them sleeping back there than have the rats.
Mm.
That just,
Yeah, the rest is bad.
That's scary.
the First I've heard of that.
yeah, yeah.
Thank you for the email. We'll
They've
attach
seen 'em.
this to our minutes for this, and I'm sure it'll be on the June 2nd agenda. Does Fire have anything? No?
I do.
Yes, sir.
I think in the long run, this camp home could be a good thing, transitional housing there. However, there's some issues I have currently, and looking forward, if it does go to a transitional housing. What's there now is a temporary Kwanzaa hut, as far as I know, which would be temporary occupancy. And a lot of the temporary occupancies, no matter what it is, if it's temporary, usually no max than 180 days from what I've done a little research on. And what's in there, I've been in that Kwanzaa hut. Did they have a licensed electrician run electric to that building? There's only one door in, only one way out. If something happens near that doorway, they can't get out. Another issue is the interior makeup of that. Is that material fire resistant or not? To me, it looks like some type of plastic.
What's
The interior, wall coating, and, because it's a big
Oh.
arch.
Right.
So I don't know what has been done with the city to allow that, if it's been inspected at all by anybody.
It has, and Dan did a report of everything you just said and turned it over to Alan
Yeah.
for code enforcement
Okay, when was that done, Chief? Do you know?
months ago.
Okay.
That might have
Last
been
year.
in the last year, he did that report and turned it over to Alan.
Okay.
Didn't she have a date to take it down?
A few
Yes, it
days.
passed.
Yeah, a few.
And when it does go to transferring or doing construction within that building, Cause I understand they need to put another shower, bathroom in there, so licensed plumber, licensed electrician. And I believe the city doesn't have plumbing or electrical inspectors, we utilize the county. So has the county even been in there to look at it? Was it something that the city needed to contact them, or was it okay with the city?
Helen's the one doing all that type of stuff,
You know,
and what he's reporting to the city manager, council,
yeah,
Right.
so I'm just saying, and
Well, for the current usage that she's using the building for the store, it's all up to code and up to snuff and up to this and that,
I
so.
understand
But for the housing part, from what I understand, in talking with Dave Mackey, because I asked him, and he said she will, if she turns it into a transitional housing unit, she will have to follow all of the legal laws and permits and this and that to have correct plumbing, correct electrical, all of that stuff, you know, and the county building inspector will have to check off everything
that. Check out.
before she's able to do all that. She'll have to get the proper licensing from the state, whatever licensing is required to have a transitional home,
Mhm.
and all checked off, that's a state thing. So she would have to go through the state of Michigan to have all that done,
Right.
you know, before she can, you know,
And that was another thing, if she's, at that point, is she getting any funding from the state? Because I would imagine the state would have to come out, just like they do the foster homes and group care homes.
Right.
They do an inspection
yeah,
also.
yeah. So I have no idea,
And that envelopes into what's required fire as code wise.
right,
She need to put a fire alarm system in there, because it's a change of occupancy from
Right.
retail to a
Housing.
boarding house, more or
Right.
less.
I don't know if it's already got, you know, alarm system in it or not, I don't know, because I know it used to have when it was the restaurant, you know, when Big Boy was in there, so I don't know if it's still in there or not, I don't know,
Yeah.
so.
So that's one thing that's my concern is, just, you know, with our city codes, we have the International Fire Code from year 2000.
Mhm.
We use the International Property Maintenance Code. I think that might be a little newer, 2012 or something. I think the city needs a little, good place to start here is to adopt and rephrase that code we have, if we adopted those codes way back when,
Right.
to just make it the most current code around, because there's new codes for both of those from 2021. So,
I talked to the city attorney about that before, and Kim, and you can't just do language like that, is what I was told by the city attorney. You can adopt a new code, but then you have to list out everything that has changed from the new code to the previous code you were using. Is how it was explained to me. Didn't make any sense to me,
yeah,
but
because
that's what I
you'd
was
have to
told.
go, you know, that one book's like that thick,
Yeah, they're,
I know.
and unless you got
Yeah,
some.
there are no one-page codes.
But usually municipalities will just adopt whatever code they choose.
Right.
But now, because since they've apparently adopted this one, I mean, the International Fire Code's 25 years old already. There's a more recent one out. Not that maybe a lot of it has changed, but I'm sure some of it has.
Yeah.
But that's,
we looked at that a couple years ago and talked about, making some adjustments, but it's, very time, not that it shouldn't be done, but it's time consuming and so what we've chosen to do, as far as I understand at this point, is just adopt these codes in total, although I think that they do deserve some scrutiny, so.
I don't know if the original adoption had a specific year for that code,
Right.
or
No, I'll look.
if it just says those codes, then we could use the most current one.
Right.
But that's my biggest concern. If something happens in that Quonset hut, to me, it's more than a temporary. It's been there more than 180 days,
Right.
It is.
and something needs to be done. I mean, if that thing catches fire, by the time we get there, it's gonna
Yeah.
be fully engulfed.
And it might harm us.
Yeah.
It could spread
Yeah,
out
depending on which way the
Right
wind's
there.
blowing, yeah.
with all the woods there. She doesn't comply with anybody. I just go,
just have a set of plans when she does go to this transition house? Dates of plan list some dates, and get people to go in and check things off.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Well, Cindy, one of the issues, you know, is the wheels of government spin extreme, you know, and to be fair, if it was you with some sort of issue, or Mark, or whoever, you know, the statutes state that, okay, you give them X amount of days, 30 or 60 days to comply. If they don't, you send them a letter. Then they get a few more days or weeks to comply. Then if they don't, then you get the law. I mean, so by the time you get to the very end of shutting her down, you're looking at 6 months, a year, you know, and again, regardless of what situation, the people, I don't want to say play that, but you know, they understand as well. So they know that even if the drop dead date is this date, they've got, you know, X amount of months that they can still, and cities and counties and townships, and Mark will, you know, agree with me on this, you get the feedback from the people going, why aren't you doing anything? It's like, well, we are, but we have to wait. And so it seems like it's taking the governmental unit forever to fix the problem when it's, you know, people in Lansing, people in Washington DC saying, these are the laws, you gotta follow them, and you know, your hands are tied, so.
I just wanted
And
to.
I understand, I
I
understand.
mean, she just, it's terrible. I mean, we have elderly people that are just scared to death,
Right,
you know? They don't wanna go outside, and they've lived there longer than I
right,
have.
right.
I heard that she got fined, and then there's a court date. I don't know if that's true.
Well, I know that, at our Monday meeting, last Monday, or the last meeting we had, that, she did miss the date, but as explained, were you there, Rob, in our last meeting? So, you know, the city attorney says that, okay, now, if it goes to court, they put it on the docket, but that's not going to be until the end of June, 1st of July, because civil things like this, that's how the courts handle it. It's not just, she missed today, so you're going to court tomorrow.
Right.
So it's late June, early July, you got holidays in there and all that kind of stuff. And so then, the way he explained it, and, you know, correct me if I'm wrong, is that the courts and the city will go, well, what can we do to fix this? And then the courts normally tell the city or the municipality, well, you know, if she plans on doing whatever, or who does whatever within another 4 to 6 months, then we're fine, but, you know, if not, then the city can, you know, press more legal charges, but again, that's another 4 to 6 months, or however long the court sets. So, I mean, conceivably, you're looking at Christmas or into the new year, but the way Missy explained at the city council meeting was that with the purchase downtown, as soon as that building's ready to move the store over there, then she can get the transitional people out of that Quonset hut, out of that tent, and into the actual building. Does that cure the rat problem? You know, it might, if you can get everybody inside, you know, and keep them from trashing the outside, you know.
I don't wanna take that chance.
No, I understand, but I'm just, we're trying to play both sides,
But is
you
there
know.
someone that will be like in charge? I mean,
Well, that's Alan Beaker and Dave Mackey, the city manager, because,
No, I think she's asking about the transitional home.
yeah.
oh, well,
I mean, if it's
They'll
just
have
gonna
to
be
be
some big
staffed.
party house for 'em, I mean, you
well,
know,
Missy's supposed to
I,
be keeping an eye on it, you know, that's
she
the way.
doesn't know, you know, when she leaves at night,
Yeah.
she doesn't know what's going
It's
on
loud.
during the evenings.
Yeah, I don't know if she'll have more staff, she didn't really approach that subject.
And so,
I won't be at the June 2nd meeting, but could you get stats for how many calls you've had there over the last 2 years? By June 2nd?
Since January 1 of '23 to date, 42 fire runs there for medical calls and 28 calls.
They were there this morning, weren't they?
Since what, January 1st of 23?
So, yes,
Or 24, 23?
23. To date,
And 26 police, you said?
28.
28?
20 police and 40 how many fire?
42.
42
Is it fighting for emergencies?
medical calls.
Okay.
Two of them were fire related. One was called in as a large fire to get up there. It was a campfire, it wasn't a violation.
I
And
remember.
there was one for them burning cardboard. The fire department took care of that.
And they were there today or yesterday? Police
Today.
were.
Today,
Today?
The fire department was there for a medical call
Medical,
today.
okay.
The police were there too.
Well, yeah.
So I'd like to chip in with a question. Gentleman said a Quonset, and you kind of clarified this. It is just a tent, is it not? An arched tent?
I think that's correct.
And I thought, looking in from the road, that it's down.
No,
It's not down.
it's
You guys can see it from where you live.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, I know you're right
We
behind
had
it.
other regular camping tents up there for a while, those are all gone.
yeah,
Okay.
but the big ones still are.
But they still have like a fire pit out there, so there's gonna be, even if it goes to transitional, I'm sure there's gonna be an outside area for those people. They're
One
not gonna
could-
keep them locked up in a building, you know.
Mhm.
And there must be trash.
Yeah.
I will
It's
say,
gonna be another
today
one.
being up there, that it was extremely cleaned up. From what we've been through the past months,
I believe she gives them access to the
they've
building.
cleaned up
So they're
on her
gonna-
property right there to the wall. That
Right.
we go in the woods, we don't go in the woods, we don't need to.
Right,
Our subjects are usually out, and it was cleaned up. I admit, it was,
Yeah, it looks a lot cleaner.
yeah, but everything was cleaned up, the.
Does she have a dumpster up there that
Yes.
they can use?
Yes. I don't know if they have access to it, it might be locked, but
Oh,
there
okay,
is
there's-
a dumpster up there, yes.
Cause I mean, that would be one obvious answer, is just, get dumpster services from.
It's lack of respect for others.
Being an Apple Run, you see a lot of people like walking through.
Oh, yes.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
One thing with management, to secure your facility, put up a big fence. I mean, of course, it's a cost to Apple Run, but at least that way maybe they'd have to go around and not
They
cut
climb
through
the
the
fence.
parking lot.
They probably climb.
Well, it's not just Apple Run though, cause
Yeah.
when I was, before I retired at the radio station, every now and again, when I'd leave at 6 o'clock, there's all sorts of people coming, it's like the children of the corn, they're just coming out of the trees behind the radio station and finding out that they lived in the tents along the bike path there, between Burger King, or between Fayette and West, and then they just come out and it's like, oh, okay, please stay off our property, and one guy kind of gave us some grief, and I said, sir, he said, well, call the police. I said, no, I'll call the federal government. He kind of looked at me and said, we're licensed by the federal government. So I said, anything you do on our property is a federal offense. And that scared him. So he quickly walked and we didn't see him again. But, so it's just,
Yeah.
so, not taking anything away from Apple Run, but it's,
Yeah. It's just sad,
No,
it's a problem where you are, it's a problem where, the bike path is, and, it's one of those where you scratch your head and go, how do you,
Well, I
How
have,
about the warming center? I mean, she has a pretty good thing going.
well,
I mean-
when they first opened, okay, Penny's main objective was to give people a place of warmth during the winter.
yeah.
So since then, they've been open from like the 1st of November through the middle of April, latter part of April. That's it. And it's been that way since she started, even before the troubles with Missy started. And then it was, and she's like, and Penny was like, well, by the time end of April gets here, it should be warm enough overnight where wherever they, if they have to sleep outside, it's not 20 below.
Right,
So she was taking care of this problem.
right.
And so, Missy had come to a meeting and said a couple of months ago, said she had been talking with Penny about Penny staying open year round, and Penny had talked about staying open year round. What happened after that, I don't know.
I think she's looking for a place,
Right, to where she could do
Right.
that, yeah,
right?
so, but I don't know with others, if that lessens Missy's, I don't, because, again, all the homeless just aren't at Missy's, they're everywhere, so,
Right,
if Penny's got X amount of beds and they fill up with others, then,
right.
there's still that issue.
They're just gonna go wherever it's best for them. They don't really care, I don't think, as long as they're warm,
Yeah,
maybe fed, taken care of a little bit. There's no, how do you control that?
Appreciate it.
And I feel bad for them because they're homeless.
right,
And I respect, but they're invading my life now. And I do not appreciate it.
Well, it's the whole lack of respect for others
Right.
and themselves
Yes.
personally, but yeah.
Now, Chief, is there any more that city police can, I mean, to answer these complaints, or is this something that?
Anytime there's been a violation of law or problem that we've got called to up there, it's gone down. But there's a lot of issues up there that squarely fall on code enforcement.
Okay,
We assist any of the agencies that need assistance, but some things are not for the police department to deal with.
okay,
Such as that tent, the regulations that go with that, the tents before that tent, that was all on that department.
okay, okay. Just so that, everybody's clear that, why aren't the police taking care of this and that, so.
But there have been numerous problems. We've arrested people up there. We have found drugs on people up there. There's a lot of people that they were saying couldn't stay there anymore and were refusing to leave, and we get called out there to deal with that and deal with that trespassing, and some of those people may have had drugs on them. Have found people that we've had to deal with out there with warrants over around 2 years. It's been Camp Hope. So the issues that are for us to take care of, we have taken care of.
But the sad note there is that once you do your job, then it's up to the courts, it's up to the this and the that, and it's out of your hands.
A lot
and-
of things with that jail reform bill from 2018 that tie our hands on a lot of things also.
Right. So. Just making sure that, people aren't yelling at people to get stuff done, and you're like, well, that's out of our.
And for the record, there's no agreement between the police department or myself with Missy and Campbell.
Appreciate that. So,
If the only agreement or whatever her and I have talked about, even if you want to call it agreement, is her saying that if we encounter somebody that has become homeless or we need assistance with, that we can contact her directly.
right,
And she will assist us in however she can,
okay,
which I actually appreciated.
yeah.
Yeah,
So
you
you
should-
see the pickle everybody's in.
I do.
And please don't take this wrong. We understand your concerns. We really do. And it's not like we're trying to blow you off either. And I mean, Rob will agree with that too. We're not trying to blow you off, but trying to find an equitable solution to all of this. I mean.
There's only so much you could do.
Right, and I mean, would it be nice if, all of the churches in Hillsdale County, for example, and I'm not blaming any churches, but, kind of get together and say, hey, let's help, but it's just one of those things where how do you, I mean, if we were as big as Kalamazoo or Jackson or Lansing, where the city could actually have a homeless shelter or have something like that, it's fine. And yeah, if you want, we can raise your taxes. But nobody wants that either. So,
We
it's-
can't actually raise the city's villages anymore, we're maxed out.
No, I know. Well, we can put it in front of the voters. I mean, technically speaking, if they want to pay more millage, pay a homeless millage. But no, I know you don't want to do that either. So.
If she would cooperate, and she would, have them take care of their things, but you can't reason with her.
And that's something that we've talked to her, Scott's talked to her, fire department's talked to her, Alan's talked with her, Dave's talked with her, so it's, but
Enough
enough.
talk.
But she just won't comply with anything. I mean, if she had a fine, she didn't pay her fine, so now she just puts it off, and I'm sure she will do it again.
I could make a suggestion here. It's a little bit self-serving in a sense, but not really, because I don't make a dime for doing this, not yet anyway. But if people will grab onto things like this and share it, because they don't necessarily know that you're having a problem if you don't come complain, right? Other people, now you'd think everybody'd know we've got homeless around here by now, but I'll bet you there's a fair percentage in Hillsdale County that don't, okay? They maybe don't come to Hillsdale. So if you promote things like this, I don't know, sometimes when we're older, we don't do a lot with social media, but social media is quite a tool. I'll give you, for instance, I went down to Waldron last night at the school board meeting, and they've got a situation going on there. And I bet I put up about 8 videos. A lot of them are shorts, just a little clip, and that's what people watch most. There's probably from last night close to 2,000 views.
Wow.
Okay, that gets word out there. Now, there's gonna be people that all they can do is gossip, but nonetheless, a seed can be planted. And like you mentioned, the churches helping. Well, it shouldn't be just the churches.
No,
It should
no.
be all of humanity that can do what they can do. And if we all work together, the load gets light.
But like you
So-
said, you know, there are those that may not know, because if you don't see it,
Right.
it doesn't exist. And so, you know, that's why they tried to hide on the bike path or behind somebody's house or whatever, because if you don't see them, well, there's no homeless problem, you know, so.
That reminds me, the bike path I had just this afternoon, a man came to me whose wife works at the Admiral, and he said that she leaves at midnight and is oftentimes scared. I thought we dealt with those, so they're, okay. So maybe he just was old news, but that was literally 2 hours ago or 3.
So whether the street department has taken the tests or not, I could give you an update on that if everybody's done.
Yeah, go ahead, I'd like to hear that.
All right, well, I'm gonna, close the public comment and we'll go on to the,
Okay, yeah.
to the discussion.
Yeah, okay.
Thank you very much. Go ahead, Chief.
Okay. I'm gonna have to start it with doing a rebuttal that, something that a council member said at the last council meeting, which I believe was May 5th, that was misleading to the public. It was said in a public meeting that was being live streamed. When there was a discussion about Camp Hope and then about homeless people that leave there, or whether it's just during the daytime, or they leave there and they're going living somewhere else as a homeless person. In bottom line, it was said that if the police department would just do their job and enforce this ordinance, and something about if community council needed to compel law enforcement, meaning the Hillsdale Police Department, to do this. I take great exception to that comment. There are members of the police department that found that unacceptable. I find that unacceptable, and it's untrue. The council member that said this had no communication with me, had no idea what we've been doing to enforce this ordinance. And the update on that is us knowing that when the warming center closed, we were going to be dealing with this. And then when we actually find encampments, we were dealing with those, and then they move, and then we have to refine them, or we get complaints when somebody else sees them, or the street department or private citizen, and we deal with those. And per the ordinance, and I've confirmed this with the city attorney, and it's the ordinance that the council approved, we have to give a verbal warning, we have to give a written warning, before we can issue the municipal civil infraction where they go to district court, they have to deal with that.
Now, is there, I mean, to interrupt, but is there a timeline? Like, you have to give the verbal warning first and wait a week and then?
Not a timeline like that.
Okay.
And with some people, we've actually moved that to where we're pretty much giving the verbal warning and the written warning at the same time. But we have found numerous encampments on city property, public property, and private property. They've all been dealt with. The police department has issued, besides several verbal warnings, 5 written warnings that I'm aware of.
Just this
And
year?
as, not just this week.
I mean, this year, I'm sorry.
Yes, this season since the warming center's been closed. And on Monday, I had 3 officers at a day shift scouring. They did this on their own. I didn't send them out to do this. All the city property, they walked woods, they walked all the walk paths, found 0 encampments, found nobody out lingering on public property. My night shift that night, 3 officers did the exact same thing and found nobody. As of Tuesday morning, there were no encampments anywhere on the city property that my officers could find. So that's the point we're at to of what we had to do from the time the warming center left up until the point earlier this week. And that was all in progress and being done when the comments were made by that council person, which again, was inaccurate, incorrect, not appreciated, one little bit. Nobody else said anything to, I don't say, anybody else needs to stand up for the police department, that's my job, and I will do that. But if you guys want information, all you gotta do is talk to me, you guys know that.
Right.
This person has never talked to me. So, again, a little rebuttal there, but that was said in a public meeting, that was being live streamed, it's recorded, so I felt compelled to do that in a public meeting.
Well, we appreciate that.
But that's where, as of earlier this week, Tuesday morning, there were no encampments that could be found.
How
I'm not
often-
saying there's not any tents setting anywhere that are now abandoned that
Right.
haven't been removed yet.
You just didn't find any people.
Correct.
How often do you check?
I've got guys they're going out on their own. Every time they do, they tell me what they have found. So I would say 2 to 3 times a week.
Okay.
When they find encampment, if they find nobody there, obviously there's nobody to give a warning to. I've got officers that have gone back in the rain thinking I can find somebody in the rain, and they have. I've got them going out in the dark. They're going out with flashlights, finding these, because they figure they can find people there at night. But they're doing this self-initiated on their own, so they are actively enforcing this ordinance. I want to make that clear.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
But to think that getting to the point where we issue somebody a municipal civil infraction is going to solve anything is not. Number one, they're not gonna go to court to get a ticket. Court's not gonna issue a warrant for their arrest. There's gonna be a summons that the person may never get. If they get anything, it's gonna be a fine, which they're not gonna be able to pay. Let's say down the road sometime they do get a bench warrant, it's gonna be a civil bench warrant because it's based on a civil infraction, the jail's not gonna take them. It's going to start this circle that the person can't get out of,
Right.
and we're gonna be dealing with all the time. And my understanding was the goal was to eliminate encampments on public property, and that's what we've achieved. If the goal has changed to get tickets out there to punish people and get them in the cycle, I guess I need to be made aware.
No, I remember that conversation very well, and we intentionally did not want to perpetuate a cycle, because these people are already in a bad enough place, and, having challenges to overcome. We didn't want to add to that. We do want our public places to be safe and free and clear of the needles and the refuse and the feeling of, somebody lurking in the shadows especially at twilight or nighttime,
That's
especially
why
for the
I wanted
ladies.
to let you know, as of
Right.
Tuesday morning, there were
Yeah.
no
I appreciate
encampments that
that.
could be found on public property in the city of
What,
Hillsdale.
Okay.
so I'm not gonna be at council
June
the second, but if you wouldn't mind to give a summary, and if you would say that, Councilman Soha, based on the information that we received today about Apple Run Apartments, that I emphatically would encourage code enforcement to lay down the law as far as what is at the thrift store, Hillsdale Community Thrift Store, and enforce the codes.
And just, again, so that you guys are aware, when code enforcement is gonna issue a citation to somebody, he's not allowed to sign the citation. That has to come to the police department. And because it can't end up in court, I do not want just any officer signing them. That could be then on night shift when there's a court hearing. I don't feel that we should be paying overtime to our people to go to court because they signed a ticket for code enforcement. So I have Detective Martin sign those because all the court hearings would be while he's working. It wouldn't cost the city any extra money. And his responsibility set forth is to verify the tickets going to the right person at the right address, that there's no mistakes on the ticket. And then he signs the ticket, sends it back to code enforcement, and they send it off, whether mailing to a person, send the copy to the court. So the only involvement in the police, it's not investigative at all, just to verify the information on the ticket's accurate, and we have to sign it. But so when they say the police department issued a ticket, we signed the ticket.
Right.
But it's coming from code
Code
enforcement.
enforcement.
Could we clarify something there for everybody here and whoever might watch this? You're talking about building code or health code right there,
Correct.
not a zoning
Correct.
code.
Yes.
Well, if it was a zoning anything coming from code enforcement has to come to us for the verification and the signature. But we're not investigating the violation.
Right, but it is on that track, Mark. Thank you.
Right,
Thank you
so,
for
yeah,
that.
the differentiation is zoning kind of stands alone, doesn't it? Police really doesn't get involved with
Well,
zoning.
that's what Chief's point is.
But
Zoning-
code, or health
zoning
code, or building code is a little different.
finds the infraction, and then they go to, in this case, Detective Martin, to actually sign and make it official.
The zoning?
If it's a zoning violation where there's gonna be a citation issued, then it would be the same process.
You do get involved with the zoning.
Only from signing the ticket and verifying that the information on the citation is accurate.
Okay, thank you for clarifying.
Thank you, that's a great question.
So,
You got a good plan and idea for what
I
to
think so.
present to council on the second?
I think so.
Would
Okay,
it help if I came? to the
that'd be,
meeting?
I would, Cindy, very much,
Okay,
yeah,
guess I'm good for the next meeting?
yeah.
June second, is it?
June second?
June second, Monday the second, yes.
Yep.
And unfortunately, I'm out of the country, but
And for the viewing public, that's at 7 o'clock.
Yes,
7 p.m.
7 p.m., yeah.
right here at City Hall. Okay, are you good?
I'm good.
You good, Chief?
I just wanted to quickly say though, that I did have, Ward 3 resident that lives, a block or so from Missy, call me over the weekend and state that, you know, I thought he was gonna be here because he wanted to talk. But he did say, hey, he says, you know, it's not just public areas that are finding the needles and stuff. He says, I live basically downstream, when it rains, you know, it comes down the street. He says, and I have needles washing up in my yard. He says, he said, and I don't know if I have a diabetic neighbor that's just throwing their needles out,
Probably not.
but probably not. But he was, you know, he can't prove anything, but, you know, he's finding needles, you know.
That's been happening since pre-COVID here in the city.
Yeah, so, don't know, I'm not blaming Missy or the people that she has housed, you know, it could be anybody, middle of the night, you know.
I've had some very similar conversations with people since the May 5th meeting
Yeah,
about her
So-
house.
yes.
Okay. Again, it's the whole good neighbor thing. Good. Any further discussion on the
Can't hold?
Campo?
I don't think so.
Okay. Then we'll close that, and trail cam replacement. I don't,
My only comment on that is if it's gonna be monitoring people on public property, I think it has to be posted. Because when they put cameras in City Hall, they put signs on entry doors that this building's under video surveillance. When we put them out at the beach, there's a sign out there in the building that this property's under video surveillance. And that being public property would make me think that the city would have to do the same thing.
I don't know, I mean, you know, Councilman Bentley was like, I don't want any more of this Orwellian surveillance. I don't remember what word he used, but,
That's basically what he said.
I kind of agree with that. I don't think,
It's either gotta be openly surveilled where everybody knows that comes there, or you're investigating criminal activity that, I mean, just to do it for this purpose, I don't think we can just set up
No.
trail cameras
right,
to monitor.
I don't want to do that.
I would not have a problem, though, with setting up trail cams with the signs that say, you know, video surveillance in use or whatever. And not say that we're looking for homeless, but just video surveillance in use. I've always felt that if people know there are cameras, you know, not only are you gonna keep the homeless away, but you may not get the 16-year-olds busting out, you know, dad's bottle of liquor, sitting back there on the bike path, getting all schnockered up, you know, I mean, pretty much anything, you know, if they know that the cameras are, and they can't reach them, if they're high enough and everything, and they can't, you know, it might just deter people from messing around, period, in those areas, so. Now, whether or not, you know, we've got the funds to do that, and then find somebody to monitor those cameras, and watch the video, and see what's been going
There's
on.
no power down along bike paths either.
Right,
So,
so, I mean,
yeah,
it's,
infrastructure,
yeah, there would be a cost involved, so. Trying to find out who's gonna, you're gonna put the street department in charge of that, who do you put, and
There's no
so,
budget
yeah.
or time for that, yeah.
No, that's a problem too, so.
but, police department will keep monitoring public places.
Thank you.
Do what needs to be dealt with.
And we have, every officer has a
Great.
body camera, correct?
Now, we talk a lot about the bike path, but are there any other, are they,
They scour the woods too, that the city owns.
right, but do we find homelessness still at Mrs. Stocks Park? Do we find them out on the beach? Anything like that, or is it merely
During the
concentrated?
daytime, they'll be occupying those areas, sitting on a bench, sitting on a swing,
Right,
Waterworks Park.
right, okay,
We've seen that,
okay. But they're not breaking any laws
not
technically?
just doing that.
Right, okay.
If
I
the,
have opinions on that, about loitering, but I know it's hard to enforce that, I get it.
yeah, the parks that have dedicated hours, obviously, that becomes a
Right.
trespassing issue if they're outside the hours.
Right.
Yeah, I've only made 2 calls this year.
Do you want us to call you, Scott, when we have issues with the camp?
Call,
If
if you have issues, call 911,
Okay.
absolutely.
the guys will go up there, if there's nothing they can do, there's nothing they can do, but if it's something they can take care of or contact some other department that needs to come up there to take care of something, they'll do that.
But they can't have bonfires?
Yes.
Not a bonfire, they can have a campfire.
Recreational.
What
A
is it?
recreational
Isn't that
Under
cheap?
4 feet in diameter,
Okay.
after 4 PM, only until midnight.
What about the noise?
That goes to 11, right?
It goes by decibel level, but if it's disturbing your peace, call.
Okay,
Right?
okay, we'll do.
Thank you for saying that, because I think disturbing the peace is something that is highly ignored in our culture today.
But again, and I'm not taking anybody's side, but you're treading a fine line between your definition of loud, her definition of loud, my definition of loud, and so, who decides what's loud?
Well, the ordinance has decibel
Well,
level
yeah.
by time of day, by zoning area.
Right,
And we actually have a decibel meter.
right. But I know people in this town that get all bent out of shape when the kids across the fence are screaming and yelling and, it's just kids being kids, and the old grump is like, the kids are disturbing me, and so you start walking that fine line, so,
At 11 o'clock tonight,
yes, yep.
or if I walk my dog outside and I hear, F you, no, F you.
Yeah, it's the language.
Yes, ma'am.
And city lives real close to the
Yeah.
fence that, right where
Right.
I
the,
do,
they
yeah.
are.
You give it back to them, under your constitutional right, you have the constitutional right to say that, just below a certain decibel level, you'll be just fine.
I probably won't.
So when the officers get there, they're gonna find Cindy yelling.
I'll go to jail.
No, you won't, they won't take you.
That's
Okay.
true, there's no room in the inn.
I've never been arrested.
Which is a county issue, by the way, I wanna get that on film. The jail is a county issue, it's not a city issue. Thank you.
Appreciate the commissioners taking that
Yeah.
real seriously. Good on the surveillance?
Yes.
Good, me too. Anything else to report, chief, or good on vehicles, good on
Yep.
police and fire, public, the fire equipment and all that stuff's all
We're working through the new
Yeah.
CAD system, there's some hiccups with that, but we're working through all that. The new Tahoe has been delivered.
Yeah, I saw
The outfitter has been contacted, so they're ordering all the parts for that.
Thank you. And the 800 megahertz with the county and all the,
In about a year,
it'll be about a year?
another year.
Okay.
We start paying for it on our winter tax.
Yeah.
Well,
Or no summer taxes, or,
no, I thought your husband said.
Was it
winter
this
tax.
winter?
I think it's the winter tax, so this is when we start paying for it,
okay,
so yeah.
that's good. It's
Which again is a county thing, you people voted for that,
overwhelming.
overwhelmingly. Don't scream at us when your taxes go up.
Okay, anything else to add in the final public comment? No? Okay,
We
I'll
just,
close.
we just.
I-
I'm frustrated,
Yes,
very frustrated.
thank you for coming.
And please know that we're listening.
I know you
You
are.
know, I
I
mean-
was in your chair
Well,
for 6 years.
yeah, I know, so just understand that we, you know, the city is listening,
I know.
but there are times when, like Chief said, we can only do so much and so often, and, you know, they have rights too.
I know.
And I know, so, but just please know that we're not turning a blind eye or a deaf ear. We hear everything and we're trying to figure it out best we can.
I know. But I'm still gonna be the squeaky wheel.
Hey, please do,
I will.
you know, please do.
As far as the other radios, I kinda heard tentative plan, they're hoping by July of next year, should be up and running. They're currently still working out legalities with the tower locations
Oh.
and getting permits and all of that
Now,
established.
will police and fire then have to get all new radios?
That's all part of it.
Yeah.
That's all part
Oh,
Yeah.
right, yeah, okay, everybody's gonna get it.
Yeah, the whole
Every fire, every school. and every
Right.
police.
Now, is that something though that we're going to have to approve, or is there like one distributor of these types of radios
It's
that?
all, was all in
Part of
the deal up front.
Yeah.
It's the Motorola system, it's gonna be Motorola radios, they have all
Okay.
the people. Last update through the Emergency Telephone Services Board, the 2 towers have to be erected here in the county. Those sites were mapped out, they had to buy some property. The lots are undergoing all the required inspections, including architectural studies to make sure, not architectural,
Engineering, so.
Yeah.
Structural.
archaeological
Oh,
studies to make sure they're not digging into
Oh,
an ancient
right.
burial site, things like that, to put
Oh,
the
yeah.
tower up, so soil samples for knowing what's gonna
Mhm.
happen in the future, if the tower's gonna be able to be held there. So all those studies are being done now, the samples have all been taken, so before the towers can go up on those 2 sites, we've gotta get all that information back.
Right, right.
So it's progressed to that point, and meetings have been set to work on creating the templates for the fire radios and then the templates for the police radios to meet all the needs of all the
Right.
departments. So there is progression now.
Cool, good.
And all of that's done by the state, actually.
Oh, yeah.
So it'll be a statewide radio with a long run. But you can
The templates
probably
are
tweak
set
it,
up locally and then.
tweak it a little bit and
Yeah.
Great, thanks for the update.
Cool.
Anything else, Bob?
I make a motion, we adjourn.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
uh,
Thank you.
Thank you all for coming.
Appreciate